Hello everyone, welcome to Web Development for Graphic Communications as part of the Reese Graphic Arts and Imaging Technology program, also known as GATE. The purpose of this class is to teach students how to develop and design basic websites for professional context. I will be going over the syllabus later on in this video, but first I wanted to give a brief kind of intro of myself and also kind of clear up any confusion about my name. So you may see it spelled as K-A-I or as K-A-Y, and both are correct, but I just go by K-A-Y version of my name, so you can just call me K. And I want to let you know that I live in town, but I grew up in Texas, and then I went to school, did my undergrad at UT Austin, Hook 'em Horns, and I got my BFA in visual communications. After that, I worked in print design as an art director for a magazine in Chicago for about 5 years. After that, and after having kids and traveling overseas, really did freelance graphic design work and now teach mainly print design in the GATE department, but also am happy to foray into the web design. This is my second semester to teach this class through GATE. I want to show you a brief video clip that I took over the last semester. It's an app I use called 1 Second a Day, and so it's just 1 second of mostly every day in my life over this semester, starting in January, and hopefully it'll give you kind of an idea of who I am.
We're stuck at the
Teach through the graphic.
left
website that comes.
That looks like
E-Chin.
And the senior web design.
Eli.
Getting over a
Probably.
oven rack trick.
What about the
Shaking.
Shing.
So hopefully that kind of gives you a snapshot of my daily life. As you can see, I have a lot of activities with my kids and family. I also teach art to kids at my home studio. And like you, I am also an online student, and I'm working on my master's in educational media at App State. So that keeps me busy as well. So I kind of understand the challenges and the advantages of being an online student. And for many of you, this may be your first online class that you're taking. So I want to kind of talk about that a little bit and use some slides to kind of point out what is an online class about and what is it not. So there may be some misconceptions out there. Being an online student does have its challenges. You really have to manage yourself and your own time. This class is asynchronous, which means that there's no set time or classroom, so there's no attendance, but there are deadlines and you have to manage yourself to keep up with all the lectures and videos and assignments on your own and get them in on time. So just because it's online doesn't mean you can turn in assignments whenever you want. There are still due dates. And it doesn't mean that it's easier. Doesn't mean you don't have to participate or interact with the instructor or with your classmates. And it doesn't mean that your instructor is distant and unavailable. So I want you to know that I am here for you. You just need to reach out to me if you need help or if you have any questions. You can also reach out, and I encourage you to reach out to your peers and classmates through the forum that we have on As You Learn. So for the help forum, I do really strongly urge you to post any questions that you have on the forum, on the help forum first, so that other students can see they may have similar struggles, and that way I can address everybody's issues at the same time. So go there first before you contact me if it's a general question that that the entire class may be having a question about. If it's more private in nature, feel free to email me. That is fine. I'm pretty quick to answer any emails, but just give me like a 24-hour grace period in case I'm out of town or out and about or doing something. So just want to give you a heads up on that. So I do think that some of the advantages of being online is that you can be self-paced. You don't have to check in at the same time every week. You can do the lessons when you're able to, and then make sure you get them in on time though. You need to check into your course page often. So the more often you check it, the better you're going to do in the class. I am now on the As You Learn course page, and I just want to go through it to make sure that you know where everything is. Starting with the announcements, this is where I will post any updates about the class, so make sure you check the announcements often. That's the best way for me to communicate something quickly to the entire class. Then here's the social help forum, and that's where you can post your questions. But not only that, if you just want to communicate something to the class or share something with the class, that's a great place to do that as well. In fact, last semester I had some students who kind of formed a group that would meet at the library on a regular basis. So if you prefer to meet face-to-face and find that really helpful, feel free to do that. I think that's a great idea. So in addition to the forum on our course page, you could form a group like that would have kind of a regular or semi-regular time to meet and go over assignments together. And if you ever wanted me to pop into one of those, just let me know and reach out to me about the time and date of those gatherings. I've also posted a link to a Zoom video, so when we do have video conferences, you can just click on that link on our course page. And I don't have one set up yet, so when I do, it will show the date and the time of when that will start. And that's something that you can let me know what your preference is in our initial survey, which I'll get to. And then I'll decide when is a good time to do a video conference. So that is not a requirement of this class, but it's just something that may be helpful for you, especially for a large class size as this one, where I can kind of address something via video with the larger group. And I could set up like 2 different times if it's split between half the class would prefer to meet in the evening and half in the morning or afternoon. I also have here some final project websites from the last semester, just so you can, it'd be fun to peruse them and see what they did and just be inspired, and so you can also get an idea of what's expected of you. Although I will say I have changed this class, so it's not going to be a replica of last time. If you've heard anything from other classmates who took it last semester, I've actually simplified it and tried to align it more with the intermediate class, so we're not covering the same things. So I've actually kind of reduced some of the assignments and simplified it, so that may be good news for some of you, and I'll talk more about that later. Okay, so then now there's my email address. Here's the course syllabus. If you click on that, you will see an embedded PDF, And let's just go ahead and go through that. You can always download these PDFs by just clicking on the download arrow, or you can print them out. But I'd like to have it embedded on the course page too, so you can access it that way. So if you scroll down, you'll see that there is only one required textbook for this class, and that's the Adobe Dreamweaver 2017 edition from Against the Clock. I know that some of you who've been with the GATE program have mixed feelings about Against the Clock, so that is still a helpful text that we're going to really utilize in this class, but I've also kind of toned that down too by adding some optional texts. And that means that I won't have any homework assignments from that text, but it would be helpful for you if you can rent it or get a copy of the Photoshop, Animate, and Dreamweaver 2017 edition. And I will provide those files for the homework assignment that we're going to do in the second module. So I will post those on As You Learn. Then also we're going to be doing Muse for the first few modules, which I did not do last semester. If you're not familiar with Muse, I would recommend you look to getting this classroom in a book from Adobe that covers Adobe Muse. And then I also recommend HTML and CSS by John Duckett, which is just a good book about basic websites and including HTML and CSS, which we will cover in this class. We will also be using the Creative Cloud version of Dreamweaver 2017, so just be aware that if you have an older version of the book or of Dreamweaver, the tutorials may not exactly match up. And I will also be using a Mac, so that may be some differences that you will notice, but the Dreamweaver text will give you commands on a Windows platform if you need that. We will begin with Adobe Muse in the first module and then hang out in Photoshop in Module 2 before we move on to Dreamweaver. So I'm going to give you a little time to build up to Dreamweaver, and then we're going to spend pretty much the rest of the class time in Dreamweaver. You do want to have a flash drive. Make sure that you store everything in your drive. If you're using the campus computers, don't store your things on the computers alone, so you always want to back it up so that you've got all your files with you on your flash drive. You will want to have access to some kind of camera. A smartphone camera would be fine, or if you want to borrow one. And then I always recommend a sketchbook and a folder to stay organized. And I've got a video more on wireframing, which we'll talk more about sketching and organizing later on. So here's the software that we're going to be using: Dreamweaver, Muse, and Photoshop. You can read at your own time our course description and course objectives. I do want to point out though that this is not a coding class, so I don't want there to be any confusion about that. You do not need to know any code prior to this class, nor should you expect to really learn in-depth coding from this class either. So we will touch on coding for the purposes of Dreamweaver, but we won't really go beyond that. So if you're interested in learning more about coding, you can look into more of a computer science-based course. You can look, I've recommended Code Academy and W3 schools are places where you can sign up and learn more about coding on your own. So as we look at our objectives, be sure to read that so you really know what you're getting into in this course. And you will be required to have one live website on a remote server by the end of this course, and that will be your final part of your final project, and that's in the place of a final exam. So this is a lot more simplified than the last semester as well. But with the ASU web host, you can have a free website uploaded to the remote server on the ASU host, but you are not allowed more than one. So there are ways to get around that, but that is kind of why I'm just going to require you to submit one working website. You will need to design 2 full other additional websites as well, but those you do not need to upload to the server. Again, we'll talk more about that when we get to that point. That's our last module, Module 9. So that brings us to our course structure. We will be working in modules, and I will open up more modules as we go along. In fact, I'll try to have most of them open in the first couple of weeks of our course. Make sure that you participate in the discussion boards. That's part of your grade. And then you can look on the next page to see the breakdown of the grading. And as you can see, half of your grade is really based on your homework assignments. Then you've got your final projects. And then you have discussion, which is 10% of your grade. And then quizzes, which is about 10% of your grade as well. So in Module 4, we will kind of begin Dreamweaver. And the content of this course will be presented in 9 modules. So I'm going to go back to get out of our syllabus for now and just take a look at how our course page is set up. There's also instructions for the Against the Clock ebook or on the printed book as well. And at this time, I want to make a note that I really recommend the hardcover, over the ebook, because some students have found it difficult when they've downloaded the ebook going back and forth with their assignment files into the ebook on a desktop computer. So unless you have a tablet or e-reader, I really recommend you just get the hardcover book, and you can ask me or other classmates about that. So make sure you read this document with directions on how to sign up for Against the Clock and download assignment files, which you will need for your homework. All right, back to our course page outline. So also, if you need to use the UDesk at App State, you can click here to go directly to UDesk if you want to use Dreamweaver through UDesk. I have not done that before, so if you have a question about that, that's where you might want to go to the social or help forum and ask about that, because I have not done that personally, so your other classmates may have more information about that. There's also some links for like lynda.com or other lectures or videos. That is not free. You would have to sign up. You can also go to adobe.com, and they have some free videos there if you want additional resources. But I have used lynda.com, and I have used W3 Schools and Code Academy, and they're all good places to go for more tutorials and resources. I also have a place for extra credit here, and that is related to the print document design class that I'm teaching. So if you are a photographer and you would like to do this for extra credit, just make sure you take a look at that. And then late assignments, I hesitate to even put a place for that so early on, because I don't want you to turn in assignments late, because then you really fall behind quickly. But if you need to, I would like you to turn in your late assignments here. And just remember that you will be docked point each day, of 1 point each day your assignment is turned in late. And then we go to Module 1, which is the only module I have open at this time. So with each module, you will go to the Start Here area, and I will upload videos. I don't have any right now, but I will have all our videos accessible in this area. And then I will always have a food for thought area, which you can read to apply to your final project. So that's really everything we do in this class is working towards our final project goal of designing and developing 3 working websites and having one uploaded to a server. So if you are not planning to use the ASU web server, if you want to have your site that you can use after this class or after you graduate, then I recommend that you find an FTP and another web hosting service that you would pay for. I've used GoDaddy and iPage, and you can link to those if you want to take a look at that. And then if you do plan to use the ASU web host and you currently already have a site on there, make sure that you either wipe that site out, or you will need to link it to the current site that you have on there if you did it for another class. So we'll cover more of that later. Read instructions on how to connect to the web hosts and upload your files there on the ASU site. It's linked here. And then also You go back to our course page, you can review the web publishing document here that gives, it's a Word file and gives you more information on how to use the ASU web host. So back to Module 1, click on the Module 1 assignment sheet. So there will be at least one assignment sheet for each model. It's an embedded PDF. If there are links to other sites such as the ASU Web Services, you can click on the links. You can download and print the assignment sheet. Read the assignments carefully. So in the first module, if you can learn how to organize content for an FTP, if you plan to use an FTP, decide which web hosting service you will use, if it's through AppState or an outside resource. And then I'm going to upload a Muse interface video that you will want to follow along, and then get to know this course outline as well as your classmates. Hopefully you've gotten to know me a little bit, so I want to get to know you. You will participate in the discussion for a point and then answer the survey for a total of 2 points in this module. Here, so you can see, here's the assignment for the initial survey. If you click on answer the questions, just make sure that you go through and answer each question, and you will have your name attached to the survey, just so you know that I would like to know of more kind of individualize the survey, so I kind of get an idea where each one of you is coming from for the initial survey. And then participate in the discussion. Just answer these questions about yourself and respond to another classmate's post. And this is really time for you to familiarize yourself with the discussion format. If you've never done this before, you just click on add a new discussion topic, and then you can write your message here. I really would encourage you to write your post on another notepad or on your desktop or a Word program, some other program, just so you've got it saved in case you get disconnected or something happens and you lose your message. You've got it backed up somewhere else. So make sure you back up everything, even your discussion posts. And that has happened before where I've had students lose their posts for some reason. So that's it for this module. You've got 1 week to do the survey and the discussion and watch the video, which you're watching right now, and then the Muse interface video will be the next one. I'd also like to introduce you to Mrs. Feinberg, which my kids bought for me at the farmer's market. And she's kind of my design muse whenever I'm working, or especially with Dreamweaver. So you may want to have some kind of helper during those difficult times. If there may be times when you get frustrated with Muse or with your computer, and you can take it out on, I can take it out on Mrs. Feinberg or whoever you may have, as long as you don't take it out on me or on your computer or anyone else. So that's Mrs. Feinberg. So each module you're going to be gaining new tools and skills that are going to help you towards your final websites in Module 9 at the end of the course, which by the end of this class you will have a wonderfully designed working professional website. So let's begin.